Good afternoon and welcome back to PBTV. I'm Stu and we're live on YouTube and Facebook. So I've brought one of the G&Gs out today purely because it's sort of unique front end that it has. I quite like this sort of setup. It's very, very ergonomic, very comfortable CQB and outdoor, so I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. But if you do have any questions on the G&G, the FFR, or any particulars, by all means drop them down below. We'll flash them up on screen and get to you as quickly as we can. So, as standard with pretty much every AEG that out there, so we do have a 14mm counterclockwise thread on the front end, so any of your accessories will fit on here, your trace units and everything like that. And with this type of rail system, there is different length available, so I've brought the short one out purely because people are very much into the CQB at the moment, so this was probably going to be one of the most popular ones. But there are longer ones where the actual barrel is slightly recessed, so if you have a Spitfire or a Sound Dog or something like that, it just recesses slightly back and it looks very, very cool when you have them mounted on there, and it looks really neat and tidy without any extra effort. But yes, I don't know if you can see it on camera, but there is a grub screw on this. So when I got this out of the box, there is a orange plastic flash hider on there. Simply screws off. There's no grub screw, there's no glue or anything on it. It does come straight off and you screw this on. Remember, it is counterclockwise, and the grub screw is sort of sat in the flash hider waiting. Tighten it, screw it on, tighten that up, and you're good to go. If you're wanting to take it off, make sure you take that grub screw out as well. Otherwise, you are going to rip them threads apart, and it's going to be useless to anyone. Coming back to the rail itself, then, this sort of very unique. So it's not key mod, it's not M-lock, it's got the Riz on the top, but on the side, it is a almost proprietary system. So the actual cutouts that you see in this are just there for show. On a real steel platform, it's probably a little bit of heat sink kind of device. But what you have on this one is inside the box, you have 3 little sections of rail about 2 inch in length. Each one of these little tiny holes is actually a screw point. So you can then put your bit of rail section exactly where you want it at any angle. Sort of the 1, 3, 6, 9, and 11 o'clock positions, 7 o'clock positions. This gives you massive amounts of freedom when it comes to fitting your accessories. So if you have a sort of grip position on this, it's quite comfortable and you're really happy with it. If you then don't want to start adding bits of Riz where it's not essential. Same with quad rails and things like that. There is Riz everywhere. And in some places, it's not where you need it. So it's adding a bit of weight. With this, it gives you absolute freedom to just put that accessory exactly where it's needed. Saves weight, keeps that front end as light as possible. Because again, in CQB, you want to be cutting through them doorways and corridors as fast as you can. It is a very lightweight front end, again keeping the centre of the gravity towards the back, so when this thing is shouldered, it is evenly balanced, making it very, very good. Indoors and outdoors, this thing is going to perform really, really well. It is quite light as well, saying that it is all metal, so we've got the CNC'd rail on the front, we've got a metal receiver. This thing does sit in at about 2 kilos, so people that have been around for the last few streams, we have had some heavy platforms come through, sort of 2.7, nearly 3 kilos on some, so this sits quite nicely at that 2 kilo point. So if you're new to the sport and you're just getting into it and you don't want something too heavy just to annihilate yourself as you're running around a field, this is probably a really good choice for you. Opinions on YouTube. Do we different stock for this? So with it being a AR platform, the stock tube is pretty much standard across most AEGs. This can just slide off, and then any of the other stocks that you can find will slide onto this. So if you wanted to put a CTR on it, a PTS, anything like that, will just fit straight on it. Please be aware that the stock tube is the battery compartment on this. So when this is fully collapsed, that is your battery compartment. And then when you slide it all the way out, you do have a longer battery compartment, but the crane stock in this offers you the ability to put a nunchuck style battery in there. So if you are going to swap to a CTR or something like that, you are going to be stuck to stick style batteries. The PTS or the EPS or the EPC will keep the nunchuck option available. Again, you don't have to take the stocks off to get batteries in here. There are 2 little tabs on the back of the stock. Simply pull that off. You'll be able to get your battery connector, slide the battery in, and you're good to go. Most of the time, if I'm running an AR like this, an M4, the stock tube will take pretty much a 1450 stick battery. Again, stick to a 7.4 LiPo, even with most of the platforms out there now. Some things have MOSFETs, some things don't. This does not. It is a very sort of entry-level platform internally. So if you start running anything more than a 7.4 on this, you're going to possibly cause pre-engagement. What we mean by that is the piston goes forward a little bit too slowly. If you're running the 11.1, the gears spin round too fast, and the physical effort of the spring can't push the piston forward fast enough. So you get pre-engagement, and either your gears or your piston will get damaged. So keep that power level down. It does keep your rate of fire down, but again, it's pros and cons. If you're wanting to go up and do anything to it to be able to do 11.1, it is a standard version 2 gearbox in here, so gate tightens, all their MOSFETs are completely, you can definitely put them in here. If you're competent in doing that yourself, by all means, but be aware that doing tech work on something like this will void warranties, so make sure you do know what you're doing, or definitely ask advice. Stu Hub on YouTube. Have you had a go with this at range? Currently not had this one at range. I have had it through the chrono, but I've not had this one outdoors. But with it being a G&G, I have had plenty of other G&Gs on the range and seen what they're like. So I am very, very confident in its range capabilities, because most of the internal parts and everything like that are very, very similar. So I've played with other platforms that are of a similar size, similar length, similar barrel. So out the box, this thing's doing about 326 FPS on a 0.2 gram BB. It does have a 230mm inner barrel. So it's at that just slightly bigger than what is maybe optimal for CQB if you want it to be super quick. Maybe 150, 170mm is probably the best if you can kind of keep the platform a bit shorter. But again, if you're wanting something to work indoors and outdoors, this pushing over that 200mm line is very, very cool. It means you're going to reach out further. You don't need as much power to get your FPS up, because the longer the barrel, you do get a little bit more FPS out of a certain power spring. That being said, if you are wanting to change some bits up, you could always put a longer barrel in it, a heavier spring and anything like that. But I've always been of the advocate that 330 FPS is probably the best for the UK if you're not chasing something like a DMR. If you start chasing that 340, 350, you're just going to put weak links in the chain down the line, and something's going to give at some point. Run something like this until something goes, and then change it is probably the best way, because if you start changing things before you use it, you don't know what outcome you're trying to get in the first place. Paul Eastwood, are the front and rear sights removable? Yes, absolutely. They're not like some of the others that we've had that are sort of quick release or anything like that. They are Allen keys, and they are not attached in the box. You do have to attach them. So there's an Allen key on the left, and you do have to set the Allen key all the way out. It's not a sort of quick release. Take it all the way out. It slides all the way out, and there is a key point in there to make sure you're putting it in the right way. Can slide that off. The back one will have to slide that way, and the front one will have to slide off. The end sides don't come off, so you can't take it off where it is. So if you have got something in front or behind, you do have to slide it off backwards or slide it off forwards. The actual flip up, flip down mechanism is a button, so you do physically have to press something to get it down. And again, it does lock in place. So again, the front sight, locking that down, you do physically have to press the button on the left-hand side to flip these up. So they're not sort of rapid flip up sights. They're purely there in case something goes wrong with your optic, you need to shoot through the tube or anything like that. But it does give you an option. So you do have a pin sight on the front and an aperture on the back. So that gives you elevation and windage, means that you can definitely adjust this thing and definitely use it with iron sights if you're competent in using them. Airsoft wise, a dot is always going to be a little bit more precise because the pin and the aperture, you're not really going to be putting it on the same spot every single time. Reaper back as always. Afternoon. Does it come in tan? Currently, no. The FFR, the GC16 FFR is only available in black, and that is all different variants of it in length. So there is, I think, there's a 13-inch and longer. So there might be even a shorter one. The longer ones do come with like a sound dog. If you've ever seen the G&G Warthog or things like that, how cool they look with the sound dog just sticking out of the rail. It's a very, very cool system, and I do like how neat and tidy it looks at the front. So coming to controls, Ross, which is better, this or the Double Eagle M904? G&G has always had a sort of little place with me, with it being very, very proven for the entry-level systems just being absolutely bulletproof when it comes to G&G being very popular for rentals. Rental players, obviously, it's not their own kit, so are they going to treat it that way? Probably not. And these platforms get used week in, week out, day after day after day after day. Most people's platforms maybe get used once, maybe twice a month, so they might last about a year. A rental getting used every day or every other day at some CQB sites, and the G&G has proven that they do last a long, long time. But that 904 does have that binary trigger, it does have the trigger response, it does have a MOSFET in it. This does not have a MOSFET. So again, pros and cons, build quality, basic parts and stuff like that. I know this thing's going to last a long, long time, but that MOSFET and the system that is in that 904 is absolutely amazing. If your site does allow binary triggers, please be aware that a lot of sites do consider binary triggers as full auto. So if you go to a CQB site, they might not let you use it, but you do benefit from the initial trigger response. Just because you can't use a binary trigger does not mean you're going to benefit from that excellent trigger response that the 904 gives you. So I was on to controls. It is right-handed dominant because it is a sort of entry-level platform. We do have a mag release on the right-hand side. Bringing that out gives you a mid-cap magazine. You will find that if I hold it away from my black hoodie, you will find that the follower comes all the way out. So the design of this is that when this is feeding BBs up into the hop, you do get every single BB out of it, and you don't really lose that many when you take the mag out. Please be aware that we do or have seen habits or incidents in the past where people have emptied these and they're just maybe practicing, or they want to see how it fits or anything like that. That's been left out. They've gone to put it in and it will snap. So make sure either this is tucked away inside the magazine or it has BBs in it. If you try and put it in with that follow up, there is a high likelihood that you're going to snap it. And again, when I put it in, it is going to push up into the hop, meaning that you're going to get every single BB. Speaking of the hop, rolling the charging handle back, it doesn't hold in place, so you will have to work with that, and you will find a standard gear style hop in there. The paddle on the left hand side doesn't do anything as far as I'm aware. Nope, doesn't even lock it back, so it is there for sure. And the fire control is on the left hand side as well, so you have safe, semi and full auto. So it is a very sort of basic platform. It gets you into the sport in what is quite a unique platform. The rail's really cool, very interesting. It's not just a standard keymod M-lock RIS system. It gives you a bit of customization with the rail panels. You do get 3 rail panels in the box, and you have got a sling point on the back. And this thing coming in at about 70 centimeters, fully collapsed as it is, and then extending out to about 80. It does fit a sort of varied range of people. If you've got big gangly arms like myself, you need to stretch it all the way out. But if you are sort of younger, shorter, smaller, just getting into the sport and you haven't quite got the reach or anything like that, this is going to be very, very comfortable for you, especially with the sort of cylinder style handguards as well. You're not going to need a grip or anything. It's going to be very, very comfortable. So if there are people joining us, please by all means drop any questions that you need down below. We'll flash them up and I'll cover a few different things. Opinions on YouTube. Does it have a MOSFET? No. This is a completely standard version 2 gearbox in here. There's no bells and whistles. It is just as it is. That is, it has a pro and con. Obviously, you do have basic contacts. You have a standard version 2 gearbox, but with it being G&G, it has been tested and they are very, very good. Look at the Raider and everything like that. They are really good, but it does give you options in the future. If something already has a MOSFET or has a proprietary MOSFET, you are kind of stuck with it. Whereas this, in the future, you want to change your barrel, you change the hop, add a gate tighten to it, a warfare, anything like that, that is absolutely an option and very, very easy to do as well. So it just gives you a little bit of future-proofing without sticking you down a certain path, if that makes sense. Kerry on YouTube. Is there any compelling reason to upgrade from the CM16 V2 to something like this? I'd have to check what the CM16 is like, but so Cymer against G&G, they're kind of very much in the same platform, and if you have a sort of standard entry-level Cyma, this is pretty much on the same level, so I wouldn't say it was an upgrade unless you are doing it on a visual standpoint. For example, if you have a plastic rail or a plastic receiver and you wanted to step up into something a bit heavier, a bit more robust, the rail on this is CNC'd aluminium. Obviously, you have an alloy receiver, so again, pros and cons between plastic, you'll hear me harp on about it all the time, is some people think a full metal platform is better than a plastic just because it's metal. Not necessarily true. Metal, again, it's heavier, it's more robust, it is going to last a long, long time. But if you start banging it, hitting against walls, trees and everything like that as you're playing, it's going to scratch, it's going to tarnish. Eventually, it's going to rust underneath over a long, long period of time. Plastic, it bounces, it scratches, it's good to go. Obviously, the very heavy hits could possibly crack a plastic receiver, whereas they might dent or scratch a metal one. So there are pros and cons between it, but I could never really say that one is better than the other when referring to metal and polymer, not the sort of cheap Scarborough plastic ones that you'll see every now and again. So a few quick reminders of some of the features it has. So it does have the 14mm counterclockwise thread on the front. Please be aware it does have a orange flash hider fitted in the box. It does screw straight off. There's no glue, there's no grub screw or anything in it, but the grub screw is in this one. You might just be able to see it on that side, and it is sort of most of the way out, and it is screwed in slightly. So put that on, tighten it up, and you are good to go. Please be aware if you wanted to swap it out to a tracer unit or anything like that, make sure that grub screw is removed. The amount of times we've had platforms back because people haven't done it, they've turned it, it's scratched the threads, and then it's just useless to anyone. You're not going to be able to fit anything to it. The Scottish Cat 32, could you get a launcher for it? Yes, most likely, because these sections, the small screw holes that you can see in here, do go all the way around to the bottom. So if you wanted to put a couple of rail sections there, you can get rail-to-rail launchers. I think the Big Dragon ones and things like that. There's the really heavy one that I can't remember its name, but you can definitely get a launcher, a 40mm that will attach directly to RIS. So if you put two bits underneath, or even one if you wanted the short one, or even put it at the front so it's a bit easier to activate, you could definitely fit a 40mm on this. And the sort of matching tube system might look really, really cool, a little bit space-aged, something you'd see out of a sci-fi film or something like that, but it would look very, very cool. So what I was saying there is these little screw holes here are where you attach the rail sections. You get 3 of these in the box, so you can attach them exactly where you want, keeping that front end nice and light. So it is a standard version 2 gearbox. I will harp on about that this is a very entry-level platform, but it does give you the options to add bits in the future. If you wanted to change to a Type Bar steel barrel, change to a CNC hop, add a Titan, Warthet, MOSFET, Gate Titan, anything like that will drop in here very, very easily, and you've got a very cool platform to keep up with the sort of tech vibe that you're going for. I do really like this front end. Reminds me of like the Troy system and stuff like that. A little bit unique. There's a lot of key mod, a lot of M-Lock out there, which is awesome. Very much like the sort of high-tech slimline stuff. But again, it's just something totally different. But if that's everything for today, this has been the GC16 FFR. I hope you've enjoyed it. Love all the questions. It makes my life a lot easier. I love it when people are talking and we're getting the information out that you want to know. So we will be back again on Friday at about 4 p.m. To get some sort of new items out there, see what's new for the weekend, and hopefully you can get out and play this weekend, and I will see you again then. So if I don't see you online anytime soon, I will see you on Friday in a bit. Bye.